Hello and welcome to the Perpetual Traffic Podcast. This is your host, Ralph Burns. I'm the founder and CEO of Tier 11. So glad you could join us here today. And today's show is a look a bit behind the curtain, so to speak. One of our private team calls, but just a small group that we had on this individual call, because we record these and then we send them to the entire team so that they can watch them. But today's call is worthy of an episode here because the three ways in which we are using AI are absolutely astonishing. And if you're a Google media buyer, a Meta media buyer, if you're doing reporting for clients, for all you agencies, if you're doing any sort of creative, and last but not least, if you're creating pages on your website, like these are three ultimate hacks that three of our brilliant team members here at Tier 11 brought to this call, and now we're going to be sharing with you. So there is a screen share that goes along with this. If you're not over on our YouTube channel as of yet, I don't know why you wouldn't be, but you should be. Head on over to perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. You can actually see the walkthroughs of these three individual ways, plus a bonus way, which we'll get to at the very end. So stay tuned and watch all the way through to the very end for that bonus way in which we're using AI. And it's not what you think. It's using a different methodology to create reporting. So if you're an agency, definitely hang on to the very end. Or if you're an internal marketing department and you need to send this to your boss, like reporting to your boss, that is absolutely killer right there. So today's show, once again, head on over to YouTube at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube so you can see the screen share. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Take it away, team.
Well, thanks everybody for jumping on today. We've got a little bit of a different one today. We thought would be a great thing to do is to give you a few different demonstrations of how some of the team are using AI. So we've got three demonstrations lined up, one from Nick, one from Lauren, and one from Josh in absentia. I have his video. So Lauren, Nick, do you want to go first and give us a quick demo?
Sure, yeah. So I'm just going to share the chat I had with ChatGPT. I needed to prepare a Google Ads build that Maddie could present to the client. And they actually had asked, could we get a quick and dirty, in their words, campaign setup launch? So here's the chat. I asked Mr. ChatGPT, are you able to scan websites if I provide you the link, recommend keywords and ad copy for Google Ads? If not, what's the best way to get you the resources you need? I said, I can't scan websites, but if you send me these things, I can give you what you want. So this is the information I provided. URL, competitors, there are three main categories, which I knew because that's in their top line reports. Those were the three main categories for their main services. I uploaded that report as well. Ask me any clarifying questions if you need to before proceeding. I always put that in there generally so it can ask me for any more context. But this is really important. Any keyword should be grouped by theme and intent, because I could have gone to Keyword Planner and found, just plugged in the website, but I would not have known how to group all these terms into intent, or at least not know how to do that quickly. So thank you. It's got all that. And here is the 6 categories. It's suggestions here. Do you want campaign structure, extension, site links, landing page copy, or want me to analyze, these are their competitors, for positioning gaps? So I said, number 3 is very interesting. Can you analyze the competitors for positioning gaps? So it gave me a competitor positioning overview, which I thought was very, very cool. But finally, for getting the build, I said, okay, I need a campaign structure. I'd like you to create a CSV spreadsheet that I can import into Google Ads. There's going to be one campaign name with this naming convention, and there's going to be 6 ad groups based on the themes you've identified, and use the naming convention as followed. So gave it the naming convention. Do you understand? Crystal clear. So it gave me this CSV file here, and that was ready to upload into Google Ads through the Google Ads editor. Then I gave it a PDF for 23 copies of ad copywriting for Google Ads. And I said, now I want you to write ads using this PDF with these 23 pillars of ad copy. and format it in a sheet that I can also upload into Google Ads. So it gave me that. Headlines, all grouped by those 6 categories it had identified, and for the keywords that it had already grouped. And so then I had 2 spreadsheets that I could upload to Google Ads, which I did so. I filled out this template manually, which is just, okay, that's not working. It's just a nice looking template that looks nice for clients. It's just how we separate headlines by message match for the keywords, then more emotional and hook-driven headlines, etc. And uploaded to Google Ads. And when we sent that through the client, he was very happy. He said these ads were much better than the ones that were previously running. This took me about 30 minutes.
That's super cool, Nick.
How much modifying did you need to do of the ads? That's great, by the way. I mean, I love the way that you prompted everything just from start to finish, but like how much editing of the final version did you have to do, like human-wise?
So the client was happy with the overall themes. There was a couple of headlines that he didn't like, so he scrubbed those out. But that was it. No other modification needed. One thing I noticed that's a giveaway for AI written copy and writing is ChatGPT uses the long hyphen. So I always ask it to replace a long hyphen with just the normal hyphen. So I did that as well. I actually just did that in the Google Sheet. I said, find and replace long hyphen with a normal one.
Even that little tip in itself is a nugget for anybody that uses ChatGPT, because it's a dead giveaway when I see something with a long hyphen.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
That was it. And the fact that the client was like, yes, these are the categories we should be using, and the keywords are right. He said there are some additional keywords we should be adding, but we can do that over time. So, and the coming away from it too, I felt more informed. It wasn't like getting ChatGPT to do anything and me throwing it over, lobbing it over the fence and done. It was like, well, now I understand more about the differences between their services, some of the terms there, very technical, but at least understanding more about their business. But super time saver.
That's great, Nick. Excellent example. All right. Let's move on to Lauren's example.
Okay. So the creative team has actually been using AI. So just kind of showing you guys the work that the team has been executing on, just as a quick example. They've really been utilizing AI for imagery. This was all done with AI. This client didn't have any product shots, so they created these assets. And then also just starting to think outside the box a bit. So the great thing, obviously, with creative is if we don't have resources, then utilizing AI is super helpful for us now to really make anything that we want. So the editors and the creative team have been really pushing the boundaries on what exactly they can utilize AI for. This was just a quick example as well of one of our clients, but we wanted to have a talking dog. So this dog is actually AI with overlaid on some UGC. So now I think with creative, it's great to actually showcase new ideas that we want to have. So if you're working on ads and you want to think outside the box, like I would definitely let us know, because I think right now it's been so great. So just wanted to show some of the examples that we've been developing just for creatives. But I'm actually just going to showcase how we've been utilizing chat more so as working on briefs and really making kind of these custom GPTs. So I'm sure whoever is using ChatGPT, obviously, you can input anything into the account or anything into your chat and it will output things. But I think one of the best tools that you could utilize it for is actually creating your own custom GPT. So that's a great use of how to actually make it. So I have this creative performance strategist GPT that I've built out. So really how this is kind of configured is, you can create your custom GPT. So if you're in here and you say explore GPTs, you can say create. And really from here is where you can build out whatever you want. So for this one in particular, I wanted to make just a creative strategist only GPT. But what the creative strategists are now going to start doing is we are actually going to start building out custom GPTs for all clients to really help kind of streamline our briefing, streamline our creative strategy frameworks. So when you're building out your GPT, you want to feed it as much information as possible. So if I come into my configure here, basically is I wanted to create a GPT that was for performance creative strategy altogether. So my prompt was basically taking this GPT and really breaking it down into what I wanted it to showcase. So direct response, ADA frameworks, awareness spectrum, like really breaking it down bit by bit by bit, granular, so that it makes a very robust GPT. I gave it a framework that we had. I gave it higher lead gen creatives, because again, we also do a lot of lead gen type information. So you kind of start building out your GPT with these conversation starters, and then any sort of information that you can feed it in terms of your direct response information. I had this PDF that I created that I uploaded, and really it builds out this great GPT that when you want to ask it something, so let's say build out a strategy, or we'll just use a generic one, D2C beauty brand focusing on skincare. Obviously, this is very generic, but it will start to build out by pulling all of this information that I've built into my custom GPT that's going to feed me all this information. So as we start to build out our creative strategy frameworks, however our GPT is built out, we can feed it this information, which is actually going to cut our time in half with having to do so much research. Obviously, we'll still have to do some, but it's really going to build out these frameworks for us so that we can really start to pull this information and build out what we need to have for these frameworks. But as we're kind of going through this, I know that some of the creative strategists do use ChatGPT right now, but as we're building it out per client, it's going to make it so helpful because you can take information from their websites, from PDFs that we have, and we can build out these custom GPTs that if David wants to build something out, he could build it out, input his information, and it will be specific. So we're really trying to make our process faster when it comes to briefing and it comes to concepting and any sort of frameworks that we're working on, in order to make it so that we're not having to spend so much time on the research side and really just trying to streamline the process. That's it.
That's really good. I think the task I put in Jira for exactly that purpose. I mean, we have so much information in tier 11, like ad templates we used, copy that crushed for us. What the hell? Copy that crushed for us for other accounts. And we definitely can utilize it. And the fact that you already built it is great. And we could just plug in more information that we have across the other clients that we used. So that's super helpful. We can also plug in ads for Google as well, whatever we need. So yeah, you definitely saved me a lot of time now, which makes me love you. Great.
Yeah, great. That's the whole point. Just like, I already know, again, like David has a GPT that he sent over. We're really trying to make our process much faster. And so again, utilizing these custom GPTs just really help it streamline the process so that they're not having to spend so much time in the weeds of doing all this research.
Yeah, super cool. Thanks, Lauren. I'll do Josh's, and then we can have a bit of just a chat around any ideas that people might have got from watching these.
I have one that I could share. I was actually working on it earlier today. So if you need another one, I have a different one. If you wanted to utilize a specific ChatGPT called Data Analysis and Report AI, this one, I actually upload new customer accounts by just exporting this data here and then exporting the ad spend per week data out of Google Ads, and then ask it to combine, merge, and normalize a graph. And it pops out normalized weekly new customers and ad spend aligned weeks. And this is the chart between what we've been spending and the amount of new customers from a top line perspective, just all spend and all new customer data. And this is what I'll be given as a report instead of a PowerPoint presentation.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Super quick way to analyze data. And is that a custom GPT that you created, or that's one that you've
didn't create, but I used it. Yes.
That's a GPT that already existed in there. Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, perfect. Great example. Love it. Short and sweet.
Hey team, wanted to really quickly step through my 3-part process that I used to create and refresh the Tier 11 careers page recently. So I'm going to go through this very quickly. First step is collecting your information, your inputs in a specific project to consolidate them. And then we're going to create a master prompt to then leverage those inputs that you've collected to create what your desired outcome is. 2 main tips I want you to take away from this, apart from the flow itself, is start experimenting with dictation and your ability to use speech to text as opposed to typing. Speech allows you to sit back, relax, observe nature, and allow your mind to creatively think about what it is that you're after. It allows you to introspect, to brainstorm out loud, to make mistakes, to correct yourself, to blabber on for 10 minutes. And AI will do the heavy lifting of sorting that out. You don't have to be very intentional with how you word vomit into the LLM tool because it will sort that out. It can help you think through things. And I use that a lot. Sometimes I dictate for 5 to 10 minutes and just to get my thoughts out, and then it will give me them in an organized way, which is super cool. Second is using deep research as a tool to enhance your inputs and your project knowledge that you use to then create even better outputs. So step 1, collecting information in a project. ChatGPT and Claude both have this. I use Claude. I just get better results with Sonnet. So here's a project, Tier 11 web page builder, specifically and intentionally designed it to build Tier 11 web pages. Now this, I've got to add, this 3-step process is good when you're building repeatable things in a specific context, a creative strategy report, an industry research report. In this case, for example, I want to create a web page, but specifically I want to create a Tier 11 career page. So what I've done here in the project knowledge is I've thrown in a bunch of information that I want the AI to keep in the top of its brain. The AI has been trained on huge amounts of data, but really what I want it to do is be able to leverage that, but guide it specifically towards Tier 11 in this use case. So that's what the knowledge base is for. Fill it with things intentionally that you believe will help the AI do that. And when I say intentionally, it's quality over quantity. Organize your stuff in there in a manner that is easily digestible and searchable. Don't just throw a transcript in there. Use AI to analyze the transcript, organize it, then put it in your knowledge base. So there's a whole bunch of stuff here, context on the business, values, vision, the branding guidelines, there's scrapes of the website as context. But here is, I think, the best thing that you can do in your knowledge base is do specific AI-guided research and then throw that into the knowledge base. So an example, ChatGPT has deep research as a tool, and I will dictate to it to conduct a research report. Create the ultimate guidebook for building the world's best careers page for a fully remote digital marketing agency. Make it highly practical and informative. I'm going to use this report to then actually build a page. So make it incredibly practical. I could have gone on for 5 minutes if I wanted to, stipulating more and more exactly what I wanted. It's going to ask me some questions here. I can answer them and get even more specific. It's going to skip through that, and then I'll get this report. So that's going to cook up the research report. Honestly, it can take between 5 to 10 minutes. So I've done one beforehand that I've already put in the knowledge base. So we'll just assume that this has produced the report. And you can do this for so many different things, everything. Just do research and be specific with the prompt. I mean, this was a very light guidance, a light prompt to do the research. You can actually use a regular AI model and say, hey, give me a research prompt to do this level of research in this area. I want this, I want that. And you can actually throw in a whole set of instructions to do even more specific research here. So you can get quite savvy with your research ability. Highly suggest doing that, because the quality of the research that gets transported to the knowledge base increases my chances of building a really best practice, high-performing careers page. So that's collecting information in the project. The next step would be creating a master prompt. So now that we have our project, how do we actually interact with that material? What I do not suggest is just starting a thread and typing in here. Whilst you can do that, what you'll end up finding is that you'll have a miss at the start, you'll try to correct that, and then you'll be playing catch up, and before you know it, you've got 20 pages worth of conversation, and the AI is going to start to hallucinate and get confused. So you want a one-hit wonder. You want to get as close to a one-hit wonder as possible. How do we create one-hit wonders? Just ask AI to give us a prompt. I want you to create a comprehensive and best practice LLM generative AI prompt that will output a new Tier 11 careers page. I want you to output it in HTML so I can preview it directly here in Claude. I want you to leverage all of the project knowledge that's available. And I want you to be very, very detailed in your instructions to this generative AI prompt or this AI model, and really cover all considerations to make sure that this prompt is super accurate and develops a highly effective landing page that considers all of the information. So again, you can see I'm just winging it with this stuff. It's a bit of science, it's a bit of an art, but honestly, these tools are getting good enough to the point where you don't need to be so rigid and specific with a lot of these things. So that's going to run, and I'm going to come back when that's finished. Okay, cool. So you can see that this is literally just producing the, oh, here we go. Okay, this is cool. This is the mistake. So, okay, but this is a good example. Sorry for being unclear. I didn't want the prompt in HTML. I wanted you to actually give me an actual prompt that I can feed straight into another LLM model. I'm going to copy this prompt and I'm going to go back to the project and I'm going to paste that in here. Ensure that reasoning is on thinking, which is very important. And most models will have thinking. You should definitely enable it because you can see here that it's reasoning and it will produce a better output. Okay, great. So now you can see first hit out, no back and forth. I threw the prompt in there. It is now producing a website. I'm going to let this load for a bit and then I'm going to review it. And then I'm going to interact in here and refine. And I'm going to do that verbally. Hey, move that here, move that there, that box there. Can you please refine the language? Can you condense this here? And I'll do that over and over again until I get what I want. And here is the actual example of what I built last week or the week before. 16 versions to get to what I wanted. 16 iterations. And then I got the page to the point where I was able to give it to the marketing team and they were able to build out. And no coding experience. This is not wireframing. This is building the actual website, the actual output, and giving it to the team to bring to life. 3 steps. I think each of them build on the other. Hopefully you've seen how that works. Now the top 2 tips, again, to reiterate, start dictating, start using your voice. I use this app called Speech Pulse. Highly recommend playing around with that and just seeing how it impacts your workflow. Once you're not restricted to a keyboard, it suddenly becomes a much more integral part of how you interact with these tools, and you start to really understand it, and you start to really leverage these tools more so in your day-to-day because you're reducing the barrier, you're leveraging their power. And the deep research, really powerful when you start to include that in the front end into your projects. So hopefully you got some use out of that.
So I hope you enjoyed today's show. As we usually do, whenever there's something internally that we do as a business or we do on some of our lives, which we do every week, 2:30 Friday Eastern time, myself and John Moran every Friday over at the Tier 11 YouTube channel. That's tier11.com/YouTube. Definitely check that out. The best ones I bring over here into Perpetual Traffic, and this call here today hopefully will help you as a marketer to at least save you hours. Like before some of these hacks, some of these AI-induced techniques that we talked about here today, we're talking about hours being saved per week and increased productivity and being able to do our best work. So hopefully you were able to do that for your department, for your company, even for your agency. And of course, if you're interested in hiring us, you can head over to tier11.com/apply and check us out. So on behalf of my amazing co-host, Lauren E. Petrulo, until next show, see ya.